Welcome back to Parlor City Voice. This is episode 10. I'm Councilman Rick Elwell, and this is our mayor, Scott Mincer. I was hanging for a second. I was hanging for a second just to see what you would do. I wanted just to see if you would sit there or what you would do. This is our interview segment, episode 10, and with us today is Kylie Tomlin from Helping Hands, an organization that I'm very familiar with. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It means a lot.
Thanks for being on the podcast. Yeah. We usually start with a little background. Could you give us a little background on yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kylie Tomlin. I was born and raised here in Wells County. To be honest, I graduated from Norwell 2016. That dates me, but not dates me in that way. In the other way that I'm younger than most people probably would expect me to be. But I loved Wells County growing up. Really great community. But I think just the support system that I had in Wells County, honestly, I knew when I went away to college, I wanted to do something in social service. I wanted to make a difference in the world. And I thought, like, if I want that role, I would not be back here in Wells County to do that, because my perspective was Wells County has it all together. All the families have support. My family, part of my personal story with one of my brothers is addiction. But even in that, our extended family, our immediate family, coaches, mentors, his friends and family came alongside us in that. And so it was really easy to think of, even in crisis and conflict, everyone has somebody. And so I just thought, like, if I'm going to make a difference in the world, it has to be somewhere outside of Wells County.
Where did you think you would end up?
I always told my parents I'm going to move to a big city. I don't know. That was just kind of, if I wanted to make a difference, it had to be in a big city where these real world problems are happening. Because again, small town, and just my perspective was those things aren't happening here. Things like homelessness and food insecurity and unstable housing and even situational prostitution, I thought does not happen here, and it very much does. So I went away to Taylor University. That's where I graduated from in 2020. A lot of doors opened and closed and did bring me back here. People always laugh. I say God always laughed at me because I always said I wouldn't move back here. I wouldn't marry anyone from here. I wouldn't work here, and now I'm doing all of those things. But yeah, I moved back here in 2020, got married. And again, doors closed, doors opened, and I landed at Helping Hands as the parent educator, which again, that's also kind of ironic because at that time I was just getting married and I'm not a parent. But I really think that role opened my eyes to a lot of things that now I'm incredibly passionate about. Quickly realized in that role, a lot of the parents that we were working with, and that class was geared towards intervening on the cycle of abuse and neglect. And what I found is probably 95% of the parents that we were working with that were sitting in that classroom with me, they were abused and neglected as children. And so that really opened my eyes of like, okay, this is happening here in Wells County, but also if we want them to do something different, how can we expect them to if they're never taught?
So when you got into that role, what did you expect that role to look like versus what it ended up looking like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know if I've thought about that. I think parent educator or parent educating parents, to me, I thought it was going to be a lot of like, here's how you make memories with your kids, and here's how you engage them in different ways, and here's how you nurture them and love them. And I thought, honestly, it would just be a very natural, and not, I don't want to say that as it's not natural for the parents, but again, they are trying to break cycles. And I had a wonderful childhood. I had really great parents, but there's things like entering a marriage that I was like, okay, I'll probably do this differently. But as any of us know, you tend to repeat things that you saw growing up.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I just, again, quickly realized like these parents, they were desperate for change. They wanted to provide something different for their children. But again, in those moments, you resort back to what happened to you as kids. And so what it ended up being is honestly a lot of really more in-depth conversations about their own childhoods. And here's how you can take steps to change, and providing them with what to do. Because I think it's also really easy to have that conversation of, oh, don't yell at your kids in public, or oh, don't do this. But are we really telling them what to replace it with?
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of what it became, of really giving them tangible things that they could take back to their home.
Teaching them skills and coping mechanisms and just, I think that cycle of poverty and just there is a cycle. It's a behavioral cycle.
Right.
And I'll be honest, I'm familiar with Helping Hands for a long time now because of some of the work we've done in the past together. It's a great organization. And I didn't realize, it's kind of like an onion when you get into it, all the layers that peel back and the different tasks and jobs. So you were parent coordinator, and now you're executive director, which is, and you had some big shoes to fill.
Yeah,
Can you
absolutely.
tell us a little bit about the history there?
Yeah. So Helping Hands was established as a crisis pregnancy clinic back in 2013. Our doors opened. Our founding executive director is Brandy Ashleman. Like you said, big shoes to fill. She's incredible. It was great to learn from and work with. But her vision and her passion was really around the crisis pregnancy. When I came on in 2020, we were already starting to evolve. But I think part of the conversation that was happening there is we started to realize as a staff that term crisis pregnancy can be really misleading. Just because we were seeing the expectant parents that were walking through our doors, it wasn't really this unexpected pregnancy bringing crisis. It was that, along with unstable housing, food insecurity, unemployment, trauma, and things that they're trying to work through, intergenerational cycles that they're trying to break. And again, now they have an unexpected pregnancy. Being a pro-life organization, we wanted to take that another step of being pro-abundant life. So we really want abundant life. Our founding verse is John 10:10, that he came so we can have life and have it abundantly. And we want that not for only these expectant parents and babies, but for fathers, for mothers, children as they grow up. And so we started asking the question of how can we continue alongside these families? Because it's not just a 9-month period. Really, when the baby is born, when they choose life, that is when the real work is starting. And so rather than it feeling like a checklist of, okay, we saved a baby or we helped them through this 9-month period, we wanted it to extend beyond that. And so all of our programs and services started to evolve into something much more, into a family resource center. So we have parenting education, which is where I came on board. We have community groups for men and women. We have children's programming. And so that's something I think is really exciting, of being more intentional and proactive with the time that we have with kiddos, rather than waiting until it's potentially an abusive relationship or teen pregnancy or an open DCS case. So that's really where we get to meet the kiddos at now. And that's where we've evolved again, from being just crisis pregnancy to being whole family. So that's kind of where we've come from. I think we've had just a lot of things. We try to include a lot of different services that fall underneath that umbrella that, again, serve the whole family to be healthier, stronger, and return a stronger community.
So I think you've got more than 24 programs.
Yeah.
How do you go about deciding, hey, we're ready to launch a new program? What does that process look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think something that I've really appreciated, both being on staff and now being as executive director, the staff that we do have is incredibly in tune with what's going on in our community, and also very willing to ask the questions of what are our clients needing. I feel like we really try to engage our clients of what are gaps in our community that you're seeing, what are things that you need, what are services that aren't there. So that's really what informs us of how we grow as an organization. That's where a lot of our decisions come from, or even just within the services we do have. For example, we had the OB medical services, so free pregnancy tests and ultrasounds, and then we added parenting education. But we were seeing of these expectant parents, they were like, well, my baby's born, I don't know what to do. So we added an expectant parent class, things that are helping them while they're pregnant of, hey, right when baby's born, here are things that you can expect. Here's what their poop should look like. Here is how much weight they should be gaining. Here's how you change a diaper. Here's how you swaddle a baby. Things like that, of just even gaps in our own services of, okay, there's this missing link between when the baby is born and when they should start this parenting class.
Well, and to be fair, as a father of 3 kids, you really go into this parent thing with, I think all of us in the room would agree, without the first clue. You can read all the books in the world, right? I mean, there's a lot of good books out there, I suppose, depending on which technique you want to jump on. But at the end of the day, you start out pretty clueless. And if you were raised in a good, nurturing family, and I'm just going to say this, and I know it's not the case in our culture today, but boy, gosh, it is really nice to have, both parents in the home. But a lot of people don't have that opportunity, so you do have these gaps. And I think that's why Helping Hands does a great job filling that and helping with that. So
I appreciate that. And I think that's something we were really starting to see, and it's informed not only the services we add, but how we approach our clients. Of, like you just said, you're becoming a new father and you had this support, you had a nurturing childhood. And I know that's not always the case across the board, but majority of the expectant parents that were even walking through our door, there was maybe a lack of partner, but also a lack of just family that was willing to come alongside them in this. And I think how many of us probably had kids and someone set up a meal train, or someone was willing to come over, hey, let me come over and I'll do your dishes, I'll do this, or I'll hold the baby so you can shower. Our clients, that's not typically reality. And so we started seeing that, and that informed us too of this can't be a transaction service, this has to be a relational service. Because for a lot of our clients, we start to become their family. We become their safe space, we become their friends, their home. Just this week, we had several moms that had new babies that stopped in and just wanted to show off their newborn. And I think that speaks to Helping Hands again, of our clients are even getting it, of we don't want to just be a part of your lives for this 9-month window. Like, please come to us. We want to be a part of your lives as you continue. And that gets us to be a part of a lot of ups and downs, but we get to celebrate birthdays of their kids. We get to celebrate milestones of clients choosing to go to college and becoming homeowners. But again, there's the hard parts too of progress is not always going to be linear. They might take 5 steps forward and then 3 steps back, but that's part of being a relational program and service, and trying to also design our programs so they ebb and flow within each other. That way it's not necessarily just an exit point of you reach a certain age or stage of your life and we don't have anything else for you.
I think the other thing that you talked about when you had your open houses a couple of weeks ago was, to your point, trying to find the gaps in services. And a piece of that is also knowing what other services are in town, so that you can hand people off to some of the other organizations that we have. So talk a little bit about that, because I think there are a lot of great services in this community, and sometimes it's just a matter of people knowing that is available to them. So how do you work with the other providers in town to make sure that we're really getting the most synergy out of our helping organizations?
No, I really appreciate that, because that is something I'm incredibly passionate about, is the collaboration piece. Just because, like I said, a lot of the families that walk through our doors, to me, I think it comes down to a lack of support system. You can add in all of these other things and cycles that are happening, but if I think about all of these moments in my life of if it really came down to if I had someone in my corner or not. And so for our families, what good is it going to do them if we don't extend that support system? And so I feel like Helping Hands, we really try to be intentional with the relationships we build with other nonprofits and organizations, because there is an abundance in Wells County, and that's a really great thing. But knowing that, okay, you can come to Helping Hands and get a car seat, but now we're going to send you down the road to family-centered services to get that installed. Or we have a mom in crisis that comes to us needing to leave an abusive situation. We can't provide housing, but we can go with you to Grace and Mercy and tour and fill out this application. We don't have after-school programming for kids, but we can refer you to Boys and Girls Club. We always look to United Way for their faith fund and have a good partnership there, because they then require them to get engaged in meaningful programs and services. And I think it takes that for these families to really be uplifted and move from a place of surviving to thriving, but that really requires us as organizations and nonprofits to be working together. So,
and I think we're really blessed here.
Absolutely.
Having traveled and been around, even just around surrounding counties, I don't think a lot of those services exist like they do here, and that interconnectivity that we seem to have here. The more time I spend with it, the more it amazes me. It really does. And
you can't have a nonprofit that does it all, or at least you can't have a nonprofit that does it all and does it well, because you have to figure out, that's what your mission and vision is about, is knowing what where are you trying to serve? What gaps are you trying to fill? And who else is doing the other gaps? And so I think, again, that's where we really try to, hey, we don't do this, but who can we provide, or who can we refer you to? And again, I think that only goes further. Like, our clients really come to trust us. And so they rely on us trusting these services that we're referring them to. And so having a good relationship is really important. And it's not just about serving the people. I think, too, social service is hard. And so it really is a neat thing. Of just yesterday, I was meeting with Family Centered Services and United Way. And it was so incredibly encouraging to just meet and talk about, like, hey, things that we're seeing in our own organizations, and to be able to encourage each other. You can get that from friends and family, but it is different. Just like I could encourage you in either of your jobs, but I've never been in politics. That looks different. And so I think just having people that understand kind of your heart and your work that you're doing 9 to 5. And also, life doesn't stop happening at 5 o'clock. And so that's a lot of times what we're a part of. And so just getting to work with people that also understand that.
And I think we both agree that government can't fix a lot of these problems. It's just not built for that.
Right.
Speaking of being built, you've got some exciting news coming up,
Yes, we
right?
do.
And she brought props.
She brought,
I love
loves visual
props.
aids, man.
Do I get bonus
Scott,
points for bringing the props?
You do, actually.
So-
Scott.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
Yes, isn't this neat?
This is your brand new building that they're going to start breaking ground on soon.
Yes.
Not yet, but soon. Tell us where that is.
Yeah, this is on, well, I always refer to it as El Camino Road.
Everybody
it is not
else
El
does
Camino Road.
too.
It's Commerce
That's it,
Drive.
man. That's Commerce,
So
El
this
Camino
is
Road.
2120 Commerce Drive, Bluffton, Indiana. Okay. We are incredibly excited. This is many, many answered prayers. A lot of time and effort has been put into this project to be very intentional with it. Yeah. So do you want me to tell like the story of how it came to be, or do you?
I think a brief description of how it came to be. This is a big project, and it's you've raised a lot of money and a lot of interest, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's, again, that's a testimony to Wells County of just being incredibly generous to be where we are today. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so just again, brief history of Helping Hands has experienced a lot of growth just naturally, I think, by implementing programs and services. But specifically from 2023 to 2024, we had a 49% increase in visits.
Wow.
That's a lot of extra people we're serving, extra visits. It got to the...
So can I pause you on that for a second? So talk about that increase. What do you think drove that increase when you step back and think about it?
That's a good question.
Do you think the need actually changed that much, or was it an awareness of some of the things that you were doing?
Or a combination of that?
I think it's a combination. I know from 2023 to 2024, we did add quite a few new services. So I think that's a piece. But a lot of times at this point, we typically get new clients because our current clients tell their friends. Right. So I think that was a piece of it, of just more awareness in the community. And again, a lot of the people that walk through our doors, it makes me sad that they say this, but they're like, you guys are just so nice to me. Like, that's why we come here. And so I think that is a big thing that leads people. They hear that about Helping Hands, and a lot of the families that we're serving, like, they need comfort, they need kindness. And so I think that is the initial drawn of like, they're going to be nice to me, there's going to be no judgment. So I think that's part of it. And then when they get engaged, we're not going to be the place for everyone, and that's okay. That's why, again, we have so many different resources. But I think for the people that choose to engage with Helping Hands services, they find it to be really beneficial.
So you talked a little bit about sort of cooperation with other nonprofits.
Yeah.
That's in part what made this happen, right?
That growth from 2023 to 2024 brought us to a place of like, what are we going to do? So it got to the point that our children's programming, for example, we had renovated and like reimagined about every square inch of our current space. But it got to the point that in addition to our children's classrooms, we were using our stairway, our lobby, a conference room, a hallway for kids' classes.
Literally every square inch.
Yes, men were meeting in pink sparkly offices, which I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't typically get men to really open up.
When they first enter that space, what's the reaction?
Oh, it's usually like, okay, like I can like I'm here. And again,
see that game this weekend?
Yeah. And the relationship piece, I think, too, draws a lot of our clients in of just, all right, I could do this because I know you. But unfortunately, but fortunately, a lot of times we are one of the first places that kids are disclosing things. And if that is happening in a hallway or on a stairway, like that's not being done with excellence. No. And so we started talking about that of, okay, how do we meet this immediate need, but how do we also what's our long-term solution here? Pretty quickly, we partnered with First Church of Christ to utilize their space for evening programming. Okay. So since the beginning of 2024, all of our evening groups have transferred off-site, which is a really great thing, and again, allows us to meet this immediate growth, but it has added logistics. So we're packing things up, we're taking it there, setting things up, and then bringing it back to restock and do all over again.
It's not like being home, is it?
No, it's not. Actually, I had one client that told me, she's like, I feel like I'm a child of divorced parents right now. Like, I go here for one service, then I go here for another, and it's just not home. Yeah. And so really started praying over what is the long-term solution. And so very quickly, I was meeting with a donor at Hughes, and we were sharing about the growth, and they were like, well, what are you going to do about it? It's like, well, we're praying over it, would invite you to pray alongside us. And they were like, well, we have land and we'd like to donate it. I was like, do you need to pray about that? And they're like, no, we have been praying about it, and this is an answer to our prayers. And that took me back 2 months earlier. One of my staff said that exact same thing of like, isn't it really neat while we're praying over this, someone else is praying over their resources to meet the need. And so there's just been, again, a lot of answered prayers in this that I feel like God was going before this project years before, of just knowing that this was coming. And that's a really foundational piece of having the land. And actually, Indiana Physical Therapy, that's our neighbors, donated some of their land even. So now it's been 2 land donations. We're like, okay, doors are opening. What's the funding look like? Because as a nonprofit, we're always trying to be very intentional of how we steward our community's generosity. Not just to grow, but to be sustainable. Because that's not going to do anyone good if we do something to move or make changes and then have to close our doors. Right. So we want to be really intentional with that growth and making sure that we have the capacity to grow alongside that. And so it was at a community meeting, I actually had a RAP meeting, that Ben from United Way of Wells County leaned over to me, and this was not public knowledge that we were getting a land donation because we didn't know the timeline with it. And that was a big part of this land donation. It was no strings attached. It was you can build in 5 years, 10 years, you can build in 2 years, which actually it's almost 2 years to the date when we're probably going to start groundbreaking. Okay. And it's funny because back then I was like, oh, that's probably like 10 years away.
It's not going to happen anytime soon, right?
Yes, and if this was on my time, we wouldn't be here. So it's just really neat to see. But he leaned over to me and he's like, do you guys need to build a building? It's like, why are you asking? And he started the conversation of this big grant process. And so with their support, we actually got the preliminary approval of a $1.1 million match.
That's
and so,
amazing.
Yes, community collaboration is like truly what makes things happen.
Just step back and think about that. I think this is sort of fascinating, right? It's you've got a church that comes alongside of you and sort of bridges you to something else. And then you've got another nonprofit in United Way who comes alongside you. You've got the landowners who are coming alongside of you. And yes, those pieces don't fall in place by just haphazardly, right?
Big open door.
There's a plan there that is being executed, not by us.
Nope.
Right, for sure.
And that's where I feel like that's a prime example of there is a church involved, there's other nonprofits, there's individuals and families, and there's businesses. Right. And that is always something I will say is it takes all of those pieces to be successful for our community to be successful. And that's, again, where collaboration, not just between nonprofits, but collaboration and partnership from businesses and nonprofits to churches, like we all need to be working together. Absolutely. Because we all have the same goal. We want Wells County to be the healthiest it can be.
Absolutely.
So that was incredible, like next huge milestone, but it was a matching grant. So then that was like, okay, that was kind of the launch to a capital campaign of, okay, we take this to the community and we'll see what they do with it. To date, our community has helped us fundraise over $1.5 million.
That's amazing.
So just
that's fantastic. Incredible.
Again, I wish I could go back to 16-year-old self and be like, you just don't even know what this community is capable of, because again, back then I wasn't in all of this either, but just to see the generosity in action is so incredible.
Well, and we look at our own experience with our pool that we're getting ready to open soon.
Yes, that's so exciting.
Just the fundraising side of that, and people were very generous and
the collaboration there too. And, different collaboration, but collaboration,
nonetheless. Yeah.
So that brought you to this, right?
Yes. So yeah, we've actually surpassed the matching requirement funds, and we're really excited about that. We're in like the final stages of final approval, and it could actually end up being a little bit more than the 1.1 million, which is really exciting. But even in that, again, we are nearing the fundraising finish line, and we had another donor that came to us and was like, hey, I want to offer a 2-for-1 match because I want to get you to that finish line. So we currently right now are like $163,300 away, but with that 2-for-1, we actually just need like $54,400.
Okay, so there you are.
There you go. There's the challenge.
Yes, that's our
I-
need right now.
This is a good time. Is there a phone number? If somebody wants to call you and go, hey, Kylie, I want to kick in on this.
Yeah,
What
number
that?
is 260-824-4263.
4263.
4263.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, or you can stop in. Always love people to show people our office, and I think people are always amazed when they come into our office of like, oh, this is smaller than I thought it was. Like, again, we have been very intentional leading up to this project to utilize every square inch of that space, and even for Church of Christ, we've been there this will be our 3rd year operating out of there. I want people to know that this isn't a project that just like we stepped into and like, oh, we'll just figure it out as we go. Like, there was a lot of thought, prayer, and intentionality. We hired a campaign consultant at the beginning of this because it was new to us as an organization. We created a steering committee. We created a building advisory committee. Our contractors, Meyer Building, have been wonderful to work with, but there's just been a lot of effort and time put into this project because we see this as more than just a building. Like, this really is a beacon of hope, and this is supposed to be a place that helps us meet more critical needs and impact more families and centralized services.
And it's literally a physical extension of the community.
Yeah.
Really, very much so. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
So this building takes us, we'll get the next prop up
Yeah.
here, right? We
Yeah.
go from 4,200 square feet plus some steps to almost 13,000 square
Yeah.
feet. That's incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring the whole, I mean, she's got a whole layout of all the rooms, but you know, to your point, very intentional about
Yeah.
space and how it's laid out and opportunity for growth even inside this building
Yeah.
to do more than what you're currently doing.
Yeah.
Kylie, are you, on social media? I mean, is there, if somebody who sees this wants more information, do you have a website or?
Yeah, they can go to our website, which is www.helpinghandscpc.org.
Okay.
There's some information there that would be more geared towards like us as an organization. There is a giving donation link. Our social media is probably where we try to keep people up to date, or our email newsletters that people can always, again, call to get signed up for.
Yeah.
But yeah, trying to share about this on social media because we want people to know, again, not just for giving and crossing that fundraising finish line. That's a really important piece, but we want buy-in to what the vision of this project is. And again, that's so much more than just the here and now. We've been trying to build this and design this for a year out, 2 years out, 5 years, 10 years out of what can we do and what gaps are there, how can we meet more critical needs. So we're hoping to add STI and STD testing. That's not something that's currently offered outside of practitioners. It's incredibly expensive, and we're typically referring clients outside of our county for that. We'd like to add mental health counseling. We're talking about life skills classes. We have a food pantry at Helping Hands.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, that's something we've added in the last few years.
Yeah.
That's something we would love to, hey, here's these 3 ingredients you can take out of our food pantry. We're going to teach you how to make a meal out of that. We'd love to add those kind of classes, trauma-informed classes, and then serving more families. So we would expect a 30% increase in the first year. So going from 3,000 visits to over 5,000 visits. And
Yeah, so I just pause on that a second.
Yeah.
Now I realize that 5,000 visits, there's probably one person may have multiple visits,
Yeah.
right? But we're a city, and I realize you're serving well outside the city limits, but we're a city of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, 5,000 visits is significant.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, when you step back and you think about that.
Yeah, and we do. So Helping Hands doesn't have stipulations on who we serve as far as geographic. So we do see people from Adams County, Allen, Blackford, Huntington. We've had someone drive from over an hour and a half away before, but predominantly are serving Wells County. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just, I've been in probably at every one of your fall
Yeah.
banquets and fundraisers now for more than 10 years. So I'm very sold on the organization and the work you're doing. So
Thank
it's great.
you.
Looking forward to the new build and all that
Yeah.
you're going to do.
Yeah, we're excited.
Kylie, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
The organization's Helping Hands, and that's going to wrap the interview section of Parlor City Voice. This is episode 10. We'll see you next time.